What is good, NIO family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I wanted to break down what's going on with NIO stock, what the news is saying about the markets thus far. A big catalyst coming out for today that could affect the markets as Jerome Powell is going to be talking on a very important show. And also what's happening to the market heading into tomorrow as I give you guys my price predictions. But before I break anything down all this information, before I give you guys any of these predictions, let me just mention a couple of things. Firstly, I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo, the link down below, and deposit $100 into the account, you are guaranteed up to 5 free stocks. If you deposit $1,000, you're guaranteed up to 15 free stocks, and the offer ends very soon. Anyways, now let's break down what's happening to NIO. NIO is down 2.9% for the day on Friday, once again respecting the strong downtrend and rejecting off the 4-hour 20 EMA. But the question is, how is NIO going to move from here? Are we about to see some kind of bounce or not? Now, I just want to note something very important is happening for today. Basically, Jerome Powell is going to be on the show called 60 Minutes, and he's going to be speaking and discussing interest rates, the economy, and inflation, and things like that. So this is important because this is going to come out later on today, basically during the evening. So I'm not going to be around during that time. And he's going to be talking about the Fed's policies and things like that. So we're going to be watching to see what he ends up saying. It's going to be very important. We'll see what he causes. The last time Powell spoke, the market has somewhat negative reaction. So we might see the market likely do that again. But I don't think the market's just going to collapse from here. There's going to be a chance that the market could get bought back up. So we might see something very similar to that appearing for tomorrow. Now, on top of this, not only does it depend on what Powell says, but also some data. Tomorrow is going to be Monday, February 5th at 9:45 a.m. Watch for the S&P Global Composite PMI report. And then at 10 a.m., we have the services PMI and more services data coming out. So we'll be watching to see how this looks. The new orders is going to be very important in services prices. This is going to be important for inflationary data. So we'll be watching for volatility at 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow. For earnings, we have Caterpillar, McDonald's, and just a couple of others coming out, which are very minor, nothing too insane. Then we have Palantir after the market closes, and everything else is very minor for Monday. The biggest day of the week is going to be on Wednesday when we have Walt Disney and PayPal. So we'll be watching to see what that causes. Besides that, everything else is very, very minor, especially for Monday. As far as NIO goes, I didn't see much news come out. We're still seeing talks about their deliveries numbers. Bank of America Securities is still giving it the same rating. The price-price ratio is dropping because NIO has been looking relatively weak as of recent. And then Mondays have a tendency of being green about 49.47% of the time. Don't forget that we also tend to see more volatility around noon, 2 p.m., and also during the final hour of the day. And finally, that's pretty much it in terms of data, at least for now. I also wanted to call out that when it comes to NIO, we had about 57 million in volume, a little bit below average. So we'll see how that ends up treating it. Now I just want to break down the charts and break down how things are looking. So looking at NIO, this is not looking that great. We're on this downtrend. You can see NIO's been downtrending and downtrending and downtrending for quite some time. And it's continuing to make lower highs and lower lows. Now, with Jerome Powell giving his speech, there's a good chance he might actually cause the market to reject and drop a little bit lower, which could slow NIO down just a bit more. So I want to warn you all that we might see NIO test 5.43 again tomorrow, even 5.25, and then try to bounce off that. There's a very good chance it might drop a little bit more as the trend is still bearish and still continuing to make these lows. But later on during the day, I think there's a very good chance the market could try to bounce, and we might actually see this shift in a different manner. So we might start off very weak tomorrow. We might see SPY test the 492 area, very close to where our important EMAs happen to be. On the 4-hour time frame, this actually aligns with the 5 EMA. If we lose that, we could be getting very close to 490, but then we'll look for a bounce after that. We might see this thing drop a little bit more and then try to bounce. The trend is still bullish. We're still making higher highs and higher lows overall. But Jerome Powell might cause us to start off on a weak end. So we're going to be watching this breakout area at this 491 to 492 area. We had this breakout zone, so we might test that. So look for a little retracement, see if we bounce off 491. If we bounce off that range, we could continue higher. If we fail to do so, there's going to be a risk of 489. So you want to be very careful. But I do see SPY retracing just a bit, and we'll have to see if it bounces. I still think it could try to get bought back up. With Powell giving his speech, we might actually see Tesla reject a little bit. It might reject off the 4-hour 20 EMA, return to the 185 area, then just chop around. There's a very good chance you might see something like that pan out. A little bit of a rejection coming temporarily before it gets bought back up again. So that's what I'm predicting for Tesla. For Apple, I'm seeing something similar. We're testing the 4-hour 20 EMA, which is one of the key resistance levels. We could reject temporarily, but then we might just test our breakout zone, which is around 182.79, so around 183. Apple might reject, drop a couple of points thanks to Jerome Powell, then bounce, and it could still continue higher later on. This does not mean the trend is changing. We might just get a temporary weak open thanks to Powell, sideways price action, and maybe a bounce later on. For the QQQ, just like SPY, this thing is going to likely reject, come back down to 427. If that fails, this 425 could be where it tries to bounce. So at one of those levels, it might retrace just a bit thanks to Jerome Powell. So we'll have to see if that ends up being the case. Otherwise, I'm just going to be very patient nonetheless. For NVIDIA, this might actually return back to about 654 at the 2 EMA, then bounce off that and start pushing even higher. Excuse me, guys. I apologize. We might come down then bounce, so watch that very carefully on NVIDIA. So as far as the market goes, I think the market's still on an uptrend, still holding up. There's no sign of us reversing yet, but it's going to depend on what Jerome Powell says, so I'll be waiting for that. Don't forget, there's more economic data coming out in the morning. It's going to cause some volatility. I think there's a good chance the market's going to cool off just a bit before we see an attempt to bounce. So watch that very carefully. That's what's going to be key. Now, as far as NIO goes, how low is NIO going to go? That's another question I wanted to answer. The answer is, when you zoom out on the weekly, we have a very important support around $5 flat and also 4.8 historically. So we're going to be watching those levels very, very carefully as time goes on, right? It's very important to watch and see how it does at that range. Could get very close to 5? It sure can, unfortunately. We've been on this big downtrend, even on the weekly. So we're still looking kind of weak. And that's the honest truth. Now, it's not the end for NIO, like I said in my previous videos. I see this as a very good buying opportunity. I think that this is the opportunity to start buying up those shares for much cheaper levels. I wouldn't go all in on NIO though. Never go all in on one single stock, not financial advice. This is just an opportunity to just dollar cost average. So slowly buy the dip. It dips more slowly by little, by little, by little. And overall, your overall average is going to just continue to drop the more it drops. And then you could be watching for a big return as the months go on. And I think that that's what's going to pan out for NIO. So for now, NIO looks bearish, guys. Jerome Powell may contribute to more downside, especially during his big interview today on 60 Minutes. So he's going to be giving like a speech, an interview today. He's going to answer a lot of questions, talk about the economy today. But things could change later on. Things could change a little bit later after Powell's speech ends, after the entire showing is over. So watch for that very carefully. And with that being said, I just want to thank every single one of you for listening. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be a minor day. We just have some data coming out in the morning, very minor earnings, nothing too serious. So I'll see you guys then in the afternoon. So until then, make sure to take care. Do what you have to do, guys, and I'll see you guys soon on the next one. Thank you for listening. NIO to the moon, because the long term is very bright alongside for the whole market. And peace out.